As you guys can tell by the sweat on my face, it is incredibly humid out. It is hot out today, but we got track day coming up this Thursday, and there's work to do that I've been putting off. I have to get this seat mount fixed. There's not much work left to do, but it's got to get fixed. I've been putting it off long enough. And then while the seat's out, I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw some tint on the windows that I've had sitting in my garage for like over a year now. We're not on the hugest time crunch. I do need to get this car done, but it's like, I've had this tint sitting around. It's got to get done at some point. It's now or never. Like, I've had it just sitting around. So while the seat's out, I'm gonna throw it on. It's like 25% or something like that. And then another thing that I want to get done before the track day on Thursday is I want to fit up my new Mishimoto oil cooler. Even when these cars are not turboed, they have a tendency to overcook the oil when you're just hot lapping. As reliable as these motors are, you can get the oil too hot. So I'd like to at least get it fitted up and hopefully be able to use it this Thursday. There's a couple other odds and ends that I do have to get done in order to get this car ready. It needs a wash like super bad. The seat bracket and the oil cooler are the biggest priorities, so those are what we're going to tackle first. So let's get right into it. So I found my roll of window tint after probably like 20 years of searching, but the one thing I noticed is it's actually not tall enough for the back glass. It doesn't quite reach from the top to the bottom. However, I can still use this roll for the quarter windows and for the side windows. But I got the seat bracket all finished up. Doesn't exactly look pretty, but that's because I had to take my time and only do spot welds because otherwise I was going to burn through the floor pan. But it's good penetration, good welds, everything is done. So now it just needs paint and then we can throw the seat bracket in and everything. But that's gonna wait until I get the windows tinted. So hopefully tomorrow we can pick something up that'll fit the back window, but I'm calling it a night for now. Alright, so it's back at it again. I ordered some window tint when I was at work today, and of course it shows up and the box is like practically folded in half. And I opened it up and I went through the tint and everything, and the whole 10-foot roll of it was kinked. But luckily I was able to go to one of the other auto parts stores and they had a whole roll of it. Now this is some cheaper stuff. It's not exactly the best stuff to use, but I'm not about to go pay like $200 just to go get the Civic tinted. If it goes bad in a year or whatever, this stuff fades or bubbles or what you name it, I can just rip it off and do it again. I don't really care. The roll is like $25. I'm not about to go spend more than that on some window tint. I just don't want the windows to be like completely open. So we're in the process of cleaning the windows and then we're gonna start cutting up some sheets.
So when I did mine, they said put paper towel on the squeegee. Well, that didn't work. And so what you do, you don't press hard. You just glide over it to begin with to work the water out, and then once it starts getting the water out, then you can sort of, gradually a little firmer and firmer.
Okay. That enough?
See what you can adjust it.
And when I squeeze it, will that get all the like any wrinkles or air bubbles out?
Yeah, because you got to get the water out. Leave the plastic on there and get the top started.
Okay.
And the water will dry. There might, I think, some of it might get trapped, but it'll dry. Yep.
All out. Yep. There. So since I have no door panels, I was kind of like doing some thinking, and I was like, why don't we just take the window glass, the door windows, like out of the doors, and then it'd be easier. So you can barely see it there, but basically just undid the bolts and slid right up and out the door. And so I'm basically, until after the race is done, I'm basically gonna rock with no windows, and we're just gonna tint these out of the car. And then after the race, when they're all dried up and everything, I can throw them back in the car, because you got to let tint dry for a while before you like cycle your windows up and down. And it's like, I need to be able to drive this thing with the windows down. So, and you can't even like move your door glass until it's dry. So we're just going to leave it out, but taking it out of the door is definitely going to make life a lot easier. All right, so the quarter windows are done now. Those are pretty simple. This is going to be pretty simple too. All we did was we actually took masking tape and we taped a really big sheet to the back window, and I just cut it to size. Usually what they tell you to do is to spray the outside with soapy water and then just stick it to there and cut it to size, but we just use masking tape. So now I'm gonna go in and clean the back window on the inside, and then we'll take this in there and we can try applying it to the inside. So it is Wednesday night, we're back at it again. Last night my dad and I got the quarter windows done. I tried getting that rear glass done. It didn't go very well, I had to rip it off. I don't have time to try and redo it before my race tomorrow, so the driver's seat is gonna have to go back in. Later on, I'm gonna pull the passenger seat out and I'm gonna give another go at the rear glass. And if I can't get it, then I'm just gonna take it to a professional. But if I can get it, great. Trouble with this rear glass is it's like not just curved on one plane, so I was fighting a lot of what they call fingers and just fighting air bubbles and it creasing on itself. It was really tricky. Also, the angle between the glass and the luggage tray is really tight, so it was just difficult on a lot of different fronts. But the seat's going in. I can't wait no more. I have some other like necessities that I actually have to get done. For tonight, I'm just gonna address the tint on the side windows. I'm actually gonna pull the windows out, tint them, and then after the race is done and everything, and the tint has had a chance to dry, I'll put the side windows back in. Welcome back. It is race day, and it is very humid out. It's only like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like just covered in sweat, but we're starting to get the interior put back together. I got the seat put back together, and I got the anti-submarine belt put in. I just used my Milwaukee step bit there, and I just punched a hole in the seat bracket and got that mounted up. So we just gotta get the seat put back in, and then we should be able to take this thing for a test drive. So you can see right here on the seat is where I mounted this. I bolted it up, and this is what's called the anti-submarine strap. It goes between your legs, and the purpose of this is so you don't actually slide underneath the lap belt, because that is a thing. So that's the point of a 5-point, and a 6-point has 2 straps between the legs. They go on each side of your thigh. So this is finally complete now, so this should be exactly what I need for an actual track day. Autocross, I didn't feel too worried without it, but it's good that we have it now. And then while the seat's out, I'm just gonna hit the carpet with a quick vacuum. Alright, so I took it for a test trip just a couple minutes ago, and the car did phenomenal. It runs good. Seems to be really good on power. It seems like the cooling issue is solved. I still smell a little bit of coolant, but I think that's just some of the old residual stuff burning off. So I'm letting it run right now. I threw in some of this Motor Medic engine flush, and I'm gonna let it run. You're supposed to let it run for like 5 minutes. And then I'm going to do an oil change. I'm probably going to do a coolant flush as well. And then I'd like to rotate the tires and try bleeding the brakes as well. I don't think I'm going to have time to put on the oil cooler today though. It is hot. It is not a good day for doing work like this, so we'll see. It's hard to see on video here, but one of the issues I'm running into, you can barely see there's some of the actual braided line where it's rubbed through this coating here, and it's been rubbing on the fork here. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw some tape around that rub mark on the brake line. That way, if it continues to rub, it rubs on the tape, and I can just keep replacing the tape, and so it doesn't wear through to the brake line. I was thinking of zip tying it to the fork kind of putting like one zip tie on the line and then one zip tie on the fork and interlocking them. That way they like can't rub on each other. But with the car jacked up in the air like this, there's a big gap between the fork and the line, so I don't want to tie them together like that. But I do want to tape it up just so that way it has something to wear on and not the brake line itself. I have everything done now. The cooling system's been flushed, the oil system's been flushed. I got the VR1 oil in, I got the car packed up. Tires are rotated, they're torqued down, everything is good to go. All I'm gonna do after this is degrease the motor, but otherwise we're good to go. So this will be the end of this video, and in the next video you guys are going to see all the racing that's going to happen today, so stay tuned for that.